Hi, how are you doing? Good. Export brutality.
We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. We welcome you all to our first meeting of the year. We've got actually 3 meetings tonight. We've got an organizational meeting, our Board of Finance meeting, and then our regularly scheduled business meeting. Before we get started, let's go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mrs. Killian is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. So for our organizational meeting, we have to elect board officers.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call, I'm sorry. Dr. Goller, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Irwin,
Here.
Mrs. Killian,
Here.
Mrs. Lohr,
Here.
Miss Lauer,
Present.
Dr. Powers,
Here.
Miss Scott, Mrs. Wise.
Here.
Thank you, Dr. Goller. Now, we will get ready to hold our board elections. As the outgoing president, I will be the temporary chairperson if there's no objections from the board.
No objection.
As a temporary chairperson, before we do the presidential election, I just want to take this time and thank the board. And, I did enjoy being the president this year. It was a challenging year, it was a stressful year, but I did enjoy it, and I am happy to pass it on to somebody else for next year. But I did enjoy my time this year, and in the future I would consider it again. But I am happy to now open the floor for nominations for president and put my nomination in for Mrs. Jackie Lauer for board president.
I second that.
Are there any other nominations? We have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call on Mrs. Lauer as president, please?
Mr. Irwin,
Aye.
Mrs. Killian,
Aye.
Mrs. Lohr,
Aye.
Miss Lauer,
Aye.
Dr. Powers,
Aye.
Miss Scott,
Aye.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
With that, Mrs. Lauer, I will bring you the gavel. Thank you.
Thank you, great job.
Yes, Hank has done an incredibly good job, and it was a busy year, and we all look forward to this year being busy also, but I do want to thank you so much for your leadership and your guidance, and you were always right there when we needed some special words, so thank you very much. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure.
We move on to election of vice president. Is there a motion from the floor or a nomination from the floor?
I nominate Mr. Hank Irwin, Vice President. I second that.
Thank you. Dr. Powers nominated Hank Irwin as vice president, and yes, I've lost her name. Joni Wise, I've done this before. Joni Wise seconded that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do I roll
Any
call?
opposed? Move on to the election of the secretary. Is there a nomination for secretary?
I'd like to nominate Mrs. Amy Lohr for secretary.
I'll second that.
Who seconded that?
Stacy Killian.
You gotta learn all the new voices.
I know, I couldn't. It sounded like it.
That's an underestimated part of the job, being able to look down and hear voices.
No, it sounded like it came from the audience, so.
Thanks, Jody.
Mr. Irwin nominated Amy Lohr as secretary, and Stacy Killian seconded that motion. Is there all in favor at this point? All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations to our vice president. Hank Irwin, and Secretary Amy Lohr. Now we have appointments for the different groups that we have, that the board members are representatives of. An appointment for the ISBA and we have asked previous to this moment for board members to volunteer for these positions. So there would be the ISBA Legislative Liaison meeting would be Amy Lohr. Is there any objection to that? I'm just going to go through and list these, and if there's
That's
any
fine.
objection or if there is any other nomination, please let me know. I would be the alternate on this ISBA Legislative Liaison. The meetings of the Vigo County Parent Network, I would be the representative with Stacy Killian as the alternate. Any objections from the board member? Okay. The Policy Committee, Susan Powers and I and Amy Lohr would be the three representatives on the Policy Committee. Any objections? The Board of Directors of the Vigo County Education Foundation, I'm sorry, Rosemary, would you be the alternate on the Policy Committee? Certainly. Board of Directors of the Vigo County Education Foundation, Mr. Irwin, Hank Irwin will be the representative. I need an alternate for that because I already serve on the Board of Directors of the Vigo County Education Foundation, but as a member of the Retired Vigo County Teachers Association. So is there someone who would like to volunteer as an alternate for the Vigo County Education Foundation?
I'll volunteer to be the alternate.
Stacy? Okay, Stacy Killian will be our alternate for the Vigo County Education Foundation.
Sorry about that, Jackie. I knew I forgot one thing you told me.
That's all right. Okay. Next, the Career and Technical Education Advisory Committee, and Hank Irwin will be our representative, with the alternate Stacy Killian. The Bond Oversight Committee will be Joni Wise, Rosemary Scott, and Stacy Killian as our representatives, with the alternate being Hank Irwin. The Building Trade Council Committee would be the representative Susan Powers, with the alternate Joni Wise. The Health and Wellness Committee with the representatives Rosemary Scott and Joni Wise, and the alternate being Susan Powers. And the Finance Committee members, Stacy Killian and Amy Lohr, would be the
Next page has you on.
representatives, and I will, there are three of us on that, so it's Stacy and Amy and myself, the alternate's Rosemary. And the board representative on the City Redevelopment Committee will be Amy Lowe, and the alternate Stacy Killian. And the board representative on the County Redevelopment Commission, I will continue at that post with Stacy Killian as the alternate. Are there any other comments or redirection from the board at all for this?
I think that we have alternates for those committees, but we can all be alternates for that if somebody can't make it, so just as long as we have a board member present.
The committees are open committees as long as no more than 3 board members are present. Anyone can attend those meetings. And as I said before, Catherine, our executive secretary, advance warning or notice as to when these committees meet, because they do not each meet monthly, or some meet weekly, and so there's a lot of differences as to when they meet. I think now we can have a motion. I would welcome a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting and go ahead and open up our Board of Finance committee meeting.
So moved.
I think, I'm gonna backtrack that. Could I have a motion to approve all of these? They are appointments and, an election of officers. Can I have a motion to approve all that we've just covered?
So moved.
And a second? Thank you. Mr. Irwin moved to approve, and Dr. Powers seconded that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Now, I will also entertain a motion to close the organizational meeting and at the same time, open up the finance committee meeting. So if I could have a motion for that. Motion closed.
So moved.
Thank you. Rosemarie moved to adjourn the organizational committee meeting and to open up the Board of the Finance committee meeting, and how did we set was seconded?
I was trying.
Amy, Amy Moore seconded that. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving right along then. We can have approval of the Board of Finance Committee meeting minutes. Any questions?
I so move.
Second.
Okay, Dr. Powers moved to approve the minutes of the Board of Finance meeting minutes, and Mr. Irwin seconded that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now, the election of the Board of Finance officers for 2021, and this traditionally consists of the 3 board officers. So that would be myself and Mr. Irwin and Amy Lohr. Can we have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
No.
Susan seconded it.
Stacy
Stacy
made motion.
made the motion, and Dr. Powers seconded that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, Mrs. Wilson, a review of the revenue from investments.
President Lauer, Superintendent Hayward, and members of the Board of School Trustees. Pursuant to Indiana Code, the Board of School Trustees is required to meet annually, elect officers from their membership as the Board of Finance officers, receive and review the report of investments of the prior year, and review the overall investment policy of the school corporation as contained in Board Policy DFA. It is recommended that the annual Board of Finance organization meeting be declared to be in session at this meeting, and it is also recommended that the minutes showing these actions be included with the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of School Trustees held this evening. Total interest received during 2020 was $420,190.34, as shown in this evening's board packet. Reflected in the total interest received was interest on 2 certificates of deposit that matured, one from the corporation's education fund and one from the corporation's insurance fund. 2020 interest earnings were $132,811.16 on money market accounts, $55,766.68 on checking accounts, and $231,612.50 on certificates of deposit. Interest credited to the insurance fund was $117,858.95, and interest credited to the education fund was $302,331.39. At your pleasure, we would like a motion to approve the report of investments for 2020. I would be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. Are there any questions from the board? We're in your packet for review, so.
I so move approval.
Second.
Mr. Irwin moved to approve the review of revenue from investments, and Mrs. Scott seconded that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Hayward?
Members of the board, the administration recommends the appointment of Donna Wilson as Vigo County School Corporation Treasurer and Cindy Ehart as Deputy Treasurer.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Irwin moved to approve the appointment of Donna Wilson as our Vigo County School Corporation Treasurer and Cindy Ehart as our Deputy Treasurer, and Dr. Powers seconded that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. And thank you continually, the two of you, for all you do and your clarification to we lay public in helping us understand what you do. Okay, now I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting of the Board of Finance and at the same time open up the meeting for our regular Board of School Trustees meeting.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Dr. Powers moved to close the Board of Finance meeting and open the Board of School Trustees meeting, and Mr. Irwin seconded that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Passed. We have in past meetings, since we are so distant, if you would like to remove your mask, you may. Sometimes it's good for clarity and pronunciation, so I'll leave that up to you. We will. Also, traditionally, we are repeating our vision and mission, and I'd like to start out our Board of School Trustees meeting with that. Our vision is working together with our community. We inspire our students to discover their talents and rise to their greatest potential. Our mission is building on the strengths of our diverse community. We create an engaging, comprehensive, educational environment that supports the growth of lifelong learners. At this time, I would invite our comments from the citizens that are present. This is the first call, and you may speak on agenda items only at this time, and you are restricted to 5 minutes. Seeing no one, we'll go on with the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. Dr. Powers moved to approve the consent agenda, and Mr. Irwin seconded that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I just, are we moving away from the roll calls?
Would you rather have a roll call?
I just don't, I just decide what items we'll do a roll call or not. But I think that sometimes we need a roll call.
We can absolutely do that. So, please, Dr. Goller, could we have a roll call?
Mr. Irwin,
Aye.
Mrs. Killian,
Aye.
Mrs. Lohr,
Aye.
Ms. Lauer,
Aye.
Dr. Powers,
Aye.
Ms. Scott,
Aye.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
Time consideration is what I was going through earlier, but that may well be more important now. The donations, Superintendent Hayward, please.
Approval is requested to accept the following donations: the backpack program to Deming Farrington Grove Elementary School, Franklin Elementary School, Rio Grande Elementary School, Elementary School, Sarah Scott Middle School, and Sugar Grove. We are so appreciative of those donations and how they benefit our children.
Yes, thanks to all of those. Is there, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Move approval of the donations?
Second.
Okay, Dr. Powers moved to approve the donations, to accept the donations, and Mr. Irwin seconded that. Roll call, please.
Mr. Irwin,
Aye.
Mrs. Killian,
Aye.
Mrs. Lohr,
Aye.
Ms. Lauer,
Aye.
Dr. Powers,
Aye.
Ms. Scott,
Aye.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
Mr. Michael Cox, if we could have the personnel report, professional leave requests.
President Lauer, Superintendent Hayworth, members of the board. Administration brings two agenda items tonight for approval under the personnel report. Administration would like to seek permission, seek permission from the board to approve each separately, personnel and professional leave report, and a memorandum of understanding with the VCTA and the VCSC Extension of Family First Coronavirus Response Act. First, I would like to address the board on the personnel report. Administration seeks approval for the personnel report as presented tonight.
Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Irwin moved to approve the personnel report, and Mrs. Lohr seconded that. Roll call.
Mr. Irwin,
Aye.
Mrs. Killian,
Aye.
Mrs. Lohr,
Aye.
Ms. Lauer,
Aye.
Dr. Powers,
Aye.
Ms. Scott,
Aye.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
So moved.
Lauer, Superintendent Hayworth, Administration seeks approval for the memorandum of understanding between the Vigo County School Corporation and the Vigo County Teachers Association with regards to the extension of the Family First Coronavirus Act from January 1st to the end of school. This act was mandated federally. We followed it, and it just, at this point in time, has expired December 31st. Working with the administration and the VCTA, we wish to extend this, and since it is outside of the bargaining window, memorandum of understanding has to be created. At this time, I come forth, bring that to you. At that point in time, we can take questions.
And this is pending ratification by the CTA.
At this point in time, ratification would occur on Tuesday with the Vigo County Teachers Association.
Right, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Irwin moved to approve the MOU from the Teachers Association for the CARES extension, and Stacy, was that, Stacy Killian seconded that. Roll call, please.
Mr. Irwin,
Aye.
Mrs. Killian,
Aye.
Mrs. Lohr,
Aye.
Ms. Lauer,
Aye.
Dr. Powers,
Aye.
Ms. Scott,
Aye.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
Is approved.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Valentinich, regarding the sexual harassment policy.
Good evening, Superintendent Hayworth, President Lauer, members of the School Board of Trustees. Tonight I would like to present a revised version of our sexual harassment policy. Recently, the federal government, specifically the Department of Education, revised guidelines in Title IX regarding sexual harassment. The revised policy before you this evening reflects changes to become compliant in the federal law. As the district Title IX coordinator, I have been going through extensive training regarding the changes reflected in this document. In addition, I have assembled a team of fellow administrators that will be trained to assist in the investigations of Title IX complaints. The changes in the Title IX laws relative to sexual harassment are sweeping and will have a profound impact in the manner in which we respond to Title IX complaints. The new changes include a new reporting system specifying how an individual, student, or staff initiates a complaint. Furthermore, the new rules formalize the grievance procedure, along with detailed procedure for investigating and possible mediation. Finally, the updated policy allows for an appeal process in the eventuality that either the complainant or the respondent wants to review the outcome of the complaint. The updated policy will strengthen our posture and position in regards to the sexual harassment policy. At this time, I will entertain any questions that you may have.
So typically, we have multiple readings for policy change, but upon advice of legal counsel, and because this involves federal law, we're essentially waiving this with approval because it involves federal law.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Irwin moved to approve the sexual harassment policy change, and Dr. Powers seconded that. Roll call, please.
Mr. Irwin?
Aye.
Mrs. Killian? Mrs. Lohr?
Aye.
Ms. Lauer?
Aye.
Dr. Powers?
Aye.
Ms. Scott?
Aye.
Mrs. Watts?
Aye. Thank you, Dr. Paladevich. Dr. Goller has some grants to review with us.
Good evening, President Lauer, Superintendent Hayworth, and members of the board. We are seeking approval this evening for 5 different grants. The first grant that we bring to you is year 3 of the 21st Century Learning Centers grant. This grant is a $240,000 grant. We are in year 3 of this program, and it extends through June 30th of 2021. This is our grant of which we work with the YMCA to enhance programming after school at 3 of our Title I sites, Devaney, Wabash, as well as Sugar Grove Elementary. It also helps with our summer program at Woodrow Wilson Middle School. Holly Pease is the program director, and Kathy Deal, who is here this evening, does a very good job, an excellent job, serving as a site coordinator. We appreciate all the work that she does. So that is the first one that we would ask for permission this evening. The second one is the CARES Act additional reallocation and update. The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, the CARES Act, which provides fast and direct economic relief. You remember that was signed into effect in March of 2020. And this grant has primarily, as you see in the copy here, has primarily focused on supporting our goals in our strategic plan, that of technology. And the large chunk of that funds has gone to Chromebooks. We've been very, very grateful to have that funding, and it has really helped us roll out one-to-one devices and support our plan. Also, a large chunk of that went to print materials at the very beginning of our remote learning so that our students in K1 and 2 would have materials at home. The third grant that we bring to you this evening is the non-English speaking program grant. And this grant helps fund our program for our English language learners. As you see there, this is a grant for $61,548.62 that helps us with our WIDA, which is the test that we administer, our WIDA access test to our boys and girls that when they come in and enroll in the school corporation, They tell us whether they speak English or they speak a different language. If they do speak a different language, then we give them a WIDA access test and a WIDA screening test as they move through the grades so that we can better place them within the classroom and provide the services that they need. So you see here that this grant will provide resources for professional development for teachers as well as student materials. The next grant is Title I. This is the Title I grant that moves through the school district but focuses on 3 different entities: Jabal Children's Services, which is Holy Cross, and the Vigo County Homes for Children, Glen Home, as well as the Vigo County Juvenile Center. Dr. Fenton and Dr. Lieberman are the grant administrators for this particular grant. And just to provide you with a little bit more data about what it funds, of those $731,000, Jabal receives $165,000 of their allocation, and Dr. Lieberman and Dr. Fenton work directly with the staff at those schools to determine what they feel those funds would best need to be given their population. And at Jabal, they use their allocation for 2 teachers during the academic year, as well as providing some summer school. The second entity is Vigo County Homes for Children. Their allocation is a little smaller, it's $18,000, and they use theirs for tutoring after school. The third entity is the largest entity, that is the Vigo County Juvenile Justice Center. Their allocation is $533,000. They use their funding for 1 teacher for daily instruction. They have many teachers that provide after-school tutoring. They have 3 liaisons to support transition back into the school corporation for those students that are at the juvenile center. It also supports counselors and supplies that are part of the juvenile center, that become part of the juvenile center. And then the final grant is also another English language learner grant. The earlier one that you saw was from the state. This one comes from the federal government. It is a Title III grant, and this one also supports our English language learners. And as you see on the back, you see the budget. We have several workshops that are used for training for teachers. More family engagement materials are part of this grant, and it also provides some after-school tutoring for students. So we have 2 grants basically that support our English language learners. And I would ask for your approval of those 5 grants this evening. Be happy to entertain any questions.
I have a question about, can you give me a number of students that are involved in our non-English grants?
You know, that's interesting because I was emailed by a board member. We have 150.
Thank you. You might ask. All right, any other questions?
Before the board would take action, I would, for consideration by the board, pull out D, take it by itself, as I think there will be a conflict of interest to D.
Right.
And so I would look for approval of A, B, C, and E, and then come back with the Title I grant.
All right.
I so move approval of A, B, C, and E. And I just realized I didn't let Dr. Kohler get back to her seat. And I'm not even president anymore, and I'm apologizing again.
All right. Okay. Well, Mr. Irwin moved to approve the A, B, C, and E grants as listed, and Mrs. Scott seconded that. So roll call, please.
Mr. Irwin?
Aye.
Mrs. Killian?
Aye.
Mrs. Lohr?
Aye.
Ms. Lauer?
Aye.
Dr. Powers?
Aye.
Ms. Scott?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Thank you. Now for grant listed as D, which is Title I.
So moved.
Okay. Mr. Irwin moved to approve
Second.
that specific grant. Rosemary Scott had seconded that. We'll go ahead with the roll call, please, Dr. Gilbert.
Mr. Irwin?
Aye.
Mrs. Killian? Aye.
Mrs. Lohr,
I will be abstaining from this vote because my husband is an employee of the Holy Cross School.
Mrs. Lauer,
Aye.
Dr. Powers,
Aye.
Ms. Scott,
Aye.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
Thank you. That will approve with one abstention. And we'll go on now for comments. This is the second call for citizens' comments. So is anyone in the audience like to address any issue, the school corporation?
Nothing from the board on elementary? Just checking. Make sure.
I'm still, Jed, I'm still missing, you never got to perform the Lion King for us after last year, and I'm still waiting on that performance. Am I gonna be waiting for a while?
He's gonna write it down, so he's gonna check it out. Dr. Hayward.
A couple of things. Again, thank you, Hank, for your leadership in 2020. Helping guide for the district as president. So thank you very much. I would also be remiss if I did not recognize Alba and Tammy in the audience, from the board members. Appreciate you being here and the support of this board. Finally, I would ask the board for consideration on January the 25th, which would be our next board meeting, that in those months that we have 2 board meetings, to consider turning the first board meeting of every month into a public work session. It would be a public work session in which business would not be conducted, but would lend itself to greater transparency to the district, similar in such ways as the finance committee, the bond steering committee, those other things we have set up to improve transparency, just because of the number of things that are on the agenda for this district in 2021. And again, I'll be asking for that consideration at the January 25th meeting. Thank you.
Dr. Hayward, are you planning on still doing the state of the schools?
We have combined the state of the schools into our 3 community meetings that we're doing right now. And so we take 15, 20 minutes of those to provide an update on the strategic plan, really highlighting what I think is our greatest achievement in year 1 is the move to technology one-to-one and the amount of professional development our teachers have gone through in year 1.
That's not an abandonment of the state of schools ongoing, that's more coronavirus and deadline time.
Yes.
Would you remind everybody of those next 2 community meetings
I
too?
will. I appreciate it. We got some great feedback from board members in regards to the first community meeting. We will be adding those recommendations as we move into Wednesday's meeting, as well as the following meeting and ending on Tuesday, the 19th. So thank you.
Any other comments from board members? Any reports? I again would like to thank Alpha Patel and Tammy Pearson, 2 former board members, for being here this evening. They were gracious and dedicated and enthusiastic board members, and I appreciate their ongoing support. Thank you for being here tonight. Also, I would like to, our own Vigo County education setup, Benton has lost a member, and that's Martha Layton, who passed away just this past week because of COVID and other health issues. But she had been a French and Spanish teacher, first at Woodrow Wilson, and then at North High School, and then I think has subbed practically every day since she retired, which was probably 14 years ago. And she was just vital to continuing to help and support the students in Vigo County and the teachers and all staff members. So keep her family in your hearts and prayers, and she was a good one. We lost a good one. Any other comments from anyone? I'll leave you with a little thought that says, those who look ahead seldom fall behind. So that's hopefully the direction we're going. Our next meeting will be Monday, January the 25th, a public work session, thinking about,
No.
we're going to present that to be we'll present that, talk about that at our next meeting, which is January the 25th. And it will be here at the West Vigo Elementary Conference Center. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
New members?
I so move.
A second. And thank you for being here. Congratulations and welcome aboard.
We got papers to sign too.
Yeah, sorry, I'm holding this up.
I don't need a roll call for you to adjourn.
Happy to have them.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
Doesn't matter.